In our first story we have this week from Headline USA's Ken Silva, the Biden DOJ declined to investigate the Nashville school shooting in 2023 as a federal hate crime. According to records about the shooting that killed 6 people, 3 of those children, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department requested the FBI's assistance in shutting down the social online accounts of the shooter and also asked for help in issuing search warrants on social media firms. The then Biden-appointed U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee, Henry Cabell Leventis, denied federal search warrants absent federal nexus or charges. So instead of federal search warrants, the FBI assisted local law enforcement in issuing state warrants on social media firms. Why would the FBI assist in doing this when a simple search reveals that this isn't common? Could it be that this was done to keep jurisdiction of any investigation isolated to the state level? This apparently would affect procedures and standards, particularly in the terms of evidence. But why would the feds want to bury evidence in this case? Well, the investigation into Vanderbilt University Medical Center was dropped. No charges for failure to report any warning signs there, and according to Nashville police, the shooter first fantasized about committing a mass shooting in November of 2017, then got somewhat better after an intensive 8-week outpatient program, but slipped back into depression due to social and personal factors. I wonder if those were the same social and personal factors that drove Stephen Paddock to shoot all those people in Vegas. Maybe the answer lies somewhere in a notebook or media file. Why do you think the DOJ would want to do a federal investigation into this shooting? Don't they love inflating hate crime numbers? Leave a comment under this video on X and give us a follow. Next, we have a story about how the DOJ declined to prosecute an FBI agent for soliciting prostitutes overseas. According to a report from the DOJ Inspector General, the then agent used his FBI-issued device to buy hookers. He also failed to disclose his continuous contact with a foreign national, which violates FBI policy. No worries though, his criminal prosecution was declined, and it's not clear that he was punished at all. Just a couple young crazy kids in love, I guess. But is there a pattern here? Another DOJ OIG report released last October told of a federal prosecutor that had a sexual relationship with the target of a police investigation. Again, this guy used his government-issued mobile device to engage in what was described as extensive sexually explicit communications with the person who would later become the target of that police investigation. From having 343 offenses of sexual misconduct between the years of 2009 to 2012 alone, including 3 instances of videotaping undressed women without consent, it sounds like the Bureau needs better parental controls on their agents' devices. What do you think about this problem within the FBI? And what would you do to help solve it? Leave a comment underneath this article on headlineusa.com. Our next story is about an ex-FBI agent now working for the DOJ. Just one little issue. He was charged for participating in the January 6th protests. Former FBI agent Jared Weiss is now reportedly serving as a counselor to Justice Department pardon attorney Ed Martin Jr., who is also the director of the task force working group. A department spokesman declined to comment on this. Weiss was arrested in Oregon for misdemeanor charges in May of 2023, stemming from his activities at the Capitol on J6. Weiss, who once had an informant steal close to $200,000 from him and had the Bureau refuse to investigate it because it may have endangered their source, was shouting, "Kill him," as he watched rioters assaulting officers outside of the Capitol. And according to the same FBI agent affidavit, raised his arms in triumph after he entered the building. I wonder when they start teaching this stuff at Fed school. Weiss, also a Project Veritas contractor, was on trial but was pardoned when Trump took office, therefore closing cases, stopping investigations, and making any evidence as to why so many feds like Weiss were there on J6 and what they were up to that much harder to attain. But Headline USA is committed to bringing you the evidence on cases like this and many others. Subscribe for free to get this and many other news stories delivered to your email inbox. Last this week, we have a scoop from Ken Silva about how the FBI received intel about underground Chinese bases in America to disperse coronavirus in Republican states. This story, that also just so happens to involve the feds squashing another investigation, follows newly declassified records, which are also heavily redacted, that the FBI was worried about the reporting about Chinese election interference contradicting then-Director Christopher Wray's testimony. Despite the evidence pointing to the FBI informant's tip about the election scheme involving ballots from China lacking veracity, the other whopper that dropped from the same FBI informant was that China had underground bases in 2020 to disperse coronavirus in Republican states. Even though documents addressed that Customs and Border Patrol had captured nearly 20,000 fraudulent driver's licenses in 2020, and most of them allegedly came from Hong Kong and China, the licenses were en route to a Midwestern battleground state. Is there that many underage Asian exchange students in need of fake IDs in the Midwest? But the coronavirus stuff was from a different unidentified PRC official, who is a sub-source to this FBI informant, and supposedly the informant told his handler that he found this tip to be credible. However, an agent wrote on September 29th of 2020 that the FBI is skeptical because of the COVID part veering into conspiracy theories. I guess that's a valid reason to not look into it, right? Why do you think the FBI decided they needed look no further into this wild accusation of underground coronavirus dispersing bases? Leave a comment under this video on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Come back next week to see what makes the tape.